Now that we know how to add game objects, let's get into the details of what are the properties of game objects. So what do we mean by properties? First of all, inside of your Unity project, when you go in a hierarchy, you can click on any object. And right here, I'm going to click on the cube that we added earlier. Now, if you look in the inspector, you see that it has a name, said cube, and then it has a tag. And if you click on tag, you can give it some tags. Now, the reason why you want to be able to tag, and that's a property, is that you sometimes want to say that anyone that's of type enemy would behave this way, or something will happen to all the enemies. You know, maybe like as a main character, you throw a bomb and all the enemies will need to die. So you make sure that you want to have all the enemies tagged as being enemies, right? Okay, now you have the transform. So as you can see, we already played earlier with the transforms, such as the position, rotation, and scaling. And usually the majority of the game objects all have the transform. It comes with it. But this one has also a cube mesh filter, a box collider, a mesh renderer, and a default material. So it has a bunch of properties. And also we call them component. And you can also add component here. Okay? Now, if you click on the taxi prefab, for example, as you can see, if you take a look at what it has, it's not the same stuff as what you have on the cube, right? I mean, we do have the transform, that's the same. We have the box collider and the rigid body, but we have this, the car drive left side script. So, as you can see here, it says C# inside of it. So this is a script that the cube does not have. Now, you may be wondering, okay, so yes, so what's that? And now, what I want you to understand is that you can add different components, and the taxi object has a script attached to it that will dictate how it behaves, or it will say to the Unity game engine, okay, this is how the taxi moves. And it's only to the taxi because this script that you see here is attached to the taxi. All right. Now, I don't want to get into too many details here, but that's why you want to use a script, okay? Because you want to drive, or you want to say how things behave. Now, the reason why you just don't create one script, but multiple scripts, is that each cars or each items or game objects will behave differently, right? So that's why you want every object to have a script. Now, if somehow your blue car wants to behave like a taxi, then guess what? You add the same script, right? And they will behave the same way. Now, you're not limited to only one script. You can actually use multiple scripts on one object. For example, you can use a script to tell the taxi how to move, and then you can have another script to tell the taxi how to open the trunk or how to open the doors. So that's a different way to also so you can have as many scripts as you like. Now, something else you want to know is, why do you need so many properties? So right now I'm on the cube, and as you can see, I have a mesh renderer, and the cube is right here. Now, if you remove the mesh renderer, then you don't see the cube anymore. The mesh renderer, as it says, renders or shows the colors of the actual object, game object. Now, this is using a default material here, but what's a material? A material is just like in real life. It's some kind of a fabric or a texture or something that your clothes are made of. Okay, and that's pretty much the same with game objects. They're made out of a texture. Now, what I want you to do is click right here on the right of it, and you can actually change the material. And if you have the same project as I have, you see that you have different materials here that are already created for you. I'm going to go with the boundaries material, double click on it, and now the cube is red. So as you can see, that's how you can change the material. Now, I'm not going to go into too many details about how to create your own materials, but know that you can be very creative with materials. Sometimes you can make a cube look like anything you like, even like a barrel if you want, just by changing the material that's on top of it. So you wouldn't even need to actually draw the barrel yourself. You would just need to add the texture of a barrel, and that would do it. All right. So something else I like to talk is the colliders. I don't want to go into too many details, but as the collider says, it's a way for telling other game objects what are the boundaries of this object. So whenever another object or game object collides with this object, it will know because of the collider. So if you remove the collider, then the other objects will never know when they collide with this object. Okay, so that's what colliders are all about. All right, so go ahead and take a look at all of them. And another one that's interesting here is the main camera. The camera has plenty of settings that are actually different. Earlier I said that the camera is a game object, and it's kind of true, but we don't like to say that it's a game object on its own, because it's like it's a beast of its own. So it's we say that it's of type camera, but it's actually a game object behind the scene. And it does have the transform, just like you already know about, and it has the camera here, so you can actually remove that. It's using a skybox, but you can just use a solid color, and I'm going to show you the difference of doing that by clicking on game, click on camera, and here select a solid color. And now, as you can see, it's blue here instead of being multiple color, and you can click here and change the color to even like some kind of a red brownish color. And then you can also put don't clear or depth only. It's up to you at this point, but usually a skybox is the best way to represent the environment around. Next is the actual light. So let's take a look at the light, the directional light. There are multiple types of lights, but we're not gonna go into too many details. Usually the directional light is more than enough to start with, and it has a color. Feel free to change the color. You can put something in the greenish, and as you can see, it changes in the scene. And if you want it to be more intense, you can always come to intensity and increase that, okay, or make it less than this. All right, and then you have the bounce intensity, is the light that reflects on the objects. All right, then there's plenty of other attributes and properties that we can play with, but I'm not going to go into too many details. That's not the purpose here. Right now it's to get you started. All right, so that's all there is to know about game objects and components. In the next one, I'm going to show you, next lecture, how to add your own components. See you guys there.